Because today is a day that ends in Y, that means there is another Rand Paul plagiarism revelation in the news. Look, more instances of plagiarism in Rand Paul's book. That was the headline at BuzzFeed today. Andrew Kaczynski detailing 4 more instances of material lifted from other sources in Rand Paul's latest book, which is called Government Bullies. The Herald Leader newspaper out of Lexington, Kentucky, which is Kentucky's second largest city. The Herald Leader endorsed Rand Paul in his Republican primary back in 2010. But this is what they wrote about him today. Quote, "It's hard to know where to start with Senator Rand Paul's reaction to legitimate criticism of his repeated plagiarism of other authors. Paul said he accepted responsibility and then went on quickly to slough it off, laying it on his rapid ascent to national prominence, which he sought relentlessly, on his staff, whom he hired, and finally, of course, on the haters, who just want to bring the great man down." Senator Paul appears to believe profoundly in his own exceptionalism, including that the rules do not apply to him. The Southern Avenger, a conservative Confederate flag mask-wearing commentator who would write longingly about avenging the South. John Wilkes Booth was right. John Wilkes Booth, of course, assassinated Abraham Lincoln. So says the Southern Avenger, quote, "I raise a personal toast every May 10th to celebrate John Wilkes Booth's birthday." When Rand Paul was called out for having this guy ghostwrite his Rand Paul Tea Party Manifesto book, Senator Paul's defense for having the toasting the Lincoln assassin guy as his paid ghostwriter was that all that Confederate stuff from that guy was sort of a youthful indiscretion. Can no one do dumb things in their youth that they grow out of as adults? The problem with that defense was that turns out it was only a few months before Rand Paul hired him that the Southern Avenger was still defending in print the virtues of Southern secession. Since the Lexington Herald Leader published a stinging editorial that read in part, quote, "With Senator Paul's shape-shifting history, the plagiarism raises a more fundamental concern. How will the public ever determine what he actually believes or knows? The sheriff with a big tin star for the law and order crowd. Robin Hood, perhaps, for the liberal enclave. Judging from the flexible persona of the adult Rand Paul, one wonders if the little boy changed costumes from block to block after determining the preferences of the adults handing out the candy."
I want to be known as a friend of Israel, but we can't.
Not with foreign aid.
Should we be giving money to a free money or welfare to a rich nation?
All right, so just to be precise, end all foreign aid, including the foreign aid to Israel as well. Is that right?
Yes.
All right, Senator Rand Paul, thanks very much for coming in.
He was asked this week about cutting off aid to Israel. Well, he played dumb. He pretended it was a crazy question, that there was no reason to ever think he'd ever wanted to do anything like that. Quote, "I haven't really proposed that in the past. We've never had a legislative proposal to do that. You can mistake my position, but then I'll answer the question." On the subject of aid to Israel, Rand Paul is now 180 degrees from where he was just a few years ago, and he won't admit it.
I like the Civil Rights Act in the sense that it ended discrimination in all public domains, and I'm all in favor of that.
But?
You had to ask me the but. I don't like the idea of telling private business owners. I abhor racism. I think it's a bad business decision to ever exclude anybody from your restaurant. But at the same time, I do believe in private ownership.
Well, fast forward to today, and you'll hear a very different Rand Paul, who's now actively courting African-American voters. This is Senator Paul just a few days ago at the National Urban League.
Not only do I support the Civil Rights Act and the Voting Rights Act, I am committed and determined. I am a committed and determined advocate of the 14th Amendment.
Those white-only signs I used to see driving down for spring break in college.
I saw them too.
You saw them too.
I saw them too.
He's saying they should have been, the businessmen should be allowed to make that decision themselves. And now he's saying, no, I'm with the law. In 2010, that's only 4 years ago, Senator Paul appeased the immigration red hots by proposing to change the Constitution of the United States so that kids born here to undocumented immigrants would not be granted citizenship under the 14th Amendment. He said, quote, "We need to have the courts review whether or not, if you break the law to come into the United States, whether your child would be a citizen just by being born here. I think we should amend the Constitution because I don't think the 14th Amendment, which grants citizenship to people born in the United States, was meant to apply to illegal aliens. It was meant to apply to the children of slaves."
For those who are here who are undocumented, should we give them a legal status? Should we document them so they can pay taxes and live legally and come out of the shadows? To that I say yes.
That's a breathtaking 180. From saying people born here shouldn't be citizens to saying people who weren't born here came to this country without documents, illegally, if you will, and they should be. I mean, excuse me, that's breathtaking.
To attend that, we're looking for a great crowd. So I'm glad you brought that up, Tony. Thank you so very much.
I'm actually a dreamer myself, and I'm originally from Mexico, but I've been raised here. I graduated from Arizona State University, actually, and Arizona State University. And I know you want to get rid of DACA, so I want to give you the opportunity. If you really want to get rid of it, just raise mine.
Let's examine that video again. Rand Paul appears to have trouble swallowing his burger once Erica Andiola announces she's a dreamer. He kind of does this choking double take. Then his staffer shoots him a look, pushes back his chair, and gestures to get the heck out of there. You can almost see like the Wile E. Coyote puff of smoke as he hightails it.
I'm actually a dreamer myself.